Hello everyone, today I'm going to be going over the new low-code no-code editor from Meta API. It is invite only at the moment, it's beta, so I thought I could show you around so you can see Lumo project. And it's like another automation platform if you've used them before, so you can trigger things, so like for example Pabbly Connect, Zapier, and if you're familiar with Power Automate or Logic Apps from Microsoft Azure, it's similar to that as well. I think all of the tools have their use case, and so I just want to show them. I'm going to show you also how you can utilize this with Pabbly Connect. So let's go ahead and check this out. So you have your payload. So this payload, so a spell, an API, Meta API, typically you can run spells with a schedule or a webhook. So on a webhook, for example, you might take in some data and utilize this data later on, right? So if I add over here, this connector, we'll dive into these things later, but a connector, see there's a bunch of different APIs which you can connect to. It's pretty awesome. Scrolling through all the APIs, you have Google Ads, Pabbly API, there's LinkedIn, there's UPS, there's Google Data Studio, Microsoft Dynamics. I requested they add Microsoft Graph, which they have done now. And so yeah, it's pretty amazing how many APIs there are. I'm gonna go ahead and use Giphy. And so you can see you can get GIFs by ID, get a random GIF, or search. Let's go ahead and choose search. And okay, so here you see input parameters. See we need an API key for authentication, and you can have a limit, so the number of records. So we can go ahead and utilize the limit, I guess, and you can see the response sample. So you have data, which is an array with items in here, right? So in this case, could have different images based on the limit, it seems, right? And there's the response schema. And so yeah, let's go ahead and add this. And then yeah, you can add your authentications. And so for this, I've gone ahead and got an app set up in Giphy, and then I just use the API key and the name here. So I've set that up, and yeah, so you can take in your string. So let's just go ahead and put something like potato and a limit of like 5, right? So I need to put a value for this. Then we can run it and we can see we get our response as JSON format, which is pretty awesome. We can go ahead and utilize that later. But you know, we're not utilizing any custom input like Harry, right? Harry was our payload, and so what we can do is we can actually use that variable. So we can say first name. Instead, what I'm going to do is change this to be query, right? And then I will add a limit variable, and I will make this a number. I'll save that, and so now I have the ability to go in here and use the variable query and the variable limit. So then I can go ahead and save this. So now what I should get is 5 GIFs with Harry. So maybe it's like Prince Harry or something. Or it's Harry Styles. And yeah, I mean I have 5 of them. You know, you either will choose this one. Apparently it's him waving. You can see the details already here, the source, and a bunch of different information. So it's pretty awesome, And so yeah, if I go to this, I'm not gonna really get anything, right? So it's just spell executed to end. And so what I can do is I can end, and in the end I can add a result, right? I can save this, and then go ahead and publish this, and then I'll just promote it to production so I can use this. And let's go ahead and put it query hello and limit equals 5, and so then I get useful information. You know, it's a bunch of information. You know, in here I can probably find something useful like the embed URL, but it's not that easy to read, right? It's like I want something more formatted, and so instead of just returning this data, what I can do is I can like structure it nicely. So that's where we make a variable, and we can make an array. So our array can be like a GIF array, right? So GIF array, and what we can do is we can save this. Like in this search GIFs, what we can do is go ahead and we can create a function, and we can take whatever's in our function. So remember in our search GIFs, it returns data array. So we can say, let's take whatever's in our search GIF, right? And we can take that and we can just get the data. And so this is an array, right? Like this array isn't really usable in this code. So what we need to do is return this as an array, and then we can utilize this after, right? So we'll save this, and then we can say get data. We can return this, right? Save it. And so we're just returning an array, and this array we can then go ahead and we can for loop over this array, and we can do each GIF, right? And then for each of these GIFs, what we can do is we can assign this item in this array, and this array is, each item is huge, right? We want to get just the embedded URL for each. So we can go ahead, we can say let's also use our GIF array, and in our GIF array we're gonna just push, because it's an array in JavaScript, to use push, and you get my for item, and then so we want the embed URL, like that. And so we are basically, just to explain this, we're just storing a GIF. We're storing our GIF in our array, the URL, and then that's basically good to then use later. We can then use our GIF array. Yeah, I didn't choose which array to go over, but we're going to iterate over our get data array. But then yeah, so hopefully I think it's going to complain about this not being assigned anything. Yes, so this is a bug I've noticed. So if I save this, it should run. And then if I just get rid of this, it should promote this to production. And then hopefully we give it some time. Then we have our simplified response. And so that's pretty simple. We just have some payload, we have a GIF array, we have a search GIF, so we're getting the data from our response. We're just now like simplifying each item into our GIF array. And now we have a bunch of, you know, GIFs just sent to us. And so I think that's pretty cool. You know, I could like have a look at this, like my query is hello, right? And it should be someone waving. Okay, it's pretty funny. And then I don't know, potato, and I get, you know, a set of GIFs. I got my potato. Okay, got another potato set of GIF, and yeah, I guess this. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. What I wanted to show you is that you can utilize this with Pabbly. Use something like Pabbly to use like Question Scout. So then you can just send a request to the API, post request, you set your queries as your input fields, and then you can like send an email using the input. And so that's basically it. Whenever I submit this question, I can be like, let's do helicopter. Then I choose, I don't know, 98. Then I only send one email, but I should get an email. There you go, it's a GIF, it's a helicopter GIF. Well, but if I check Pabbly, I guess there's a limit, but yeah, that's basically it. And you know, instead of having to do everything in one automation tool, I'm saving automation tasks in Pabbly because I'm doing a bunch of this stuff over here, and I think that's pretty awesome. And maybe you find that there's automations and tasks in Pabbly that aren't in Meta API or vice versa, and so like you can use both of them. It's a mix of both. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this. And you can do stuff like if statements as well, which I didn't show. You can have else ifs, and you can configure conditions and cool things like this. And yeah, so if you have any questions, let me know. This is invite only at the moment, so happy to do another video. See you in the next one, and bye bye.